So now we're going to apply all of the sig fig rules that we learned to some actual mathematical operations. And there are some rules with these mathematical operations. When you are multiplying measured numbers or adding measured numbers, there are specific rules. So we're going to learn about the multiplication and division rules. We're going to learn about the addition and subtraction rules, and we're going to learn about the rules of rounding. In general, let me just quickly start off with the rounding rules. If, for example, you need to round something, and let's say you have a number like this, 28.56, and you need to have only 3 sig figs. Your final answer must have 3 sig figs, let's say, based on what we're going to learn a little later on. Well, this is 4 sig figs. Let's say you have to round it to 3 sig figs. So that means we got to get rid of this. Since this is a 5 or higher, you round up. So just remember that 5 or higher, you round up. Which one do we round up? Just this one. Don't touch these guys. Just round the one that you're about to round up is the one next to the one that you're about to draw. So this becomes, your final answer is 28.6. And you just drop that extra sig fig. Well, let's say you have a number like this, 28.42, okay? And you want to round it to 3 sig figs. See, this number here is lower than 5. Since it's lower than 5, you stay. You don't round up. So the final answer would be 28.4. Is that clear to everybody? All right. The other thing with rounding is that if you have something like this, 28.445, and you want, let's say, 3 sig figs. A lot of students will see this 5 and then they'll want to round this up and then make it a 5 and then this will round this up. No. If you want 3 sig figs, you focus on this digit here. What is the number right behind this digit? It's below a 5. You can't round up. You stay. So it'd be a 28.4. Okay, so that deals with the rules of rounding, and we'll use them as we do some calculations. All right, so what are the rules of multiplication and division? The final answer has to have the same number of sig figs as one of the measured quantities with the least sig figs. So if you have 2 numbers, let's say I have 28.345 centimeters, and I want to multiply it by 4.897 centimeters. All right, let's pretend whatever we're measuring is able to measure to that. So obviously the rulers we give you guys, or the rulers you'll see, usually just has 2 decimal places, but let's pretend. So you can see that this number here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sig figs. And this number here has 1, 2, 3, 4 sig figs. The rule for multiplication and division is that your final answer has to have the same number of sig figs as one of these measured quantities that has the least number, so 4. So this has to be 4 sig figs. So you bring out your calculator. I have a calculator right over here. And I need my glasses. Let's put these numbers in, guys. So 28.345 times 4.897. Okay, your calculator gives you this humongous number here. It says 138.80546. And centimeters times centimeters is centimeters squared. So this is the number. If you were in a math class, you would write this number, because in math you just do regular multiplication and you write down the actual value. But in chemistry, because sig figs are so important and you're limited by whatever tool you use to get these measured numbers, you've got to round this final answer to the least number of sig figs. and that means we need 4 sig figs. So what you do is you go from your 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now we got to drop these guys. All right. Anytime you have a decimal, it's really easy to drop digits to the right of the decimal, no problem. It's when you run into a scenario where you have to drop digits to the left of the decimal, then you need to switch over to scientific notation to do it correctly, and we'll be talking about that. But this one is pretty straightforward. We can easily get rid of these guys because it's to the right of the decimal. You see that this number is not a 5 or higher. So what do? We stay, we don't round up. So our final answer is 138.8 centimeters squared. Okay, so that's the rule for multiplication and division. So the same thing would hold true for division. If you have 2 measured numbers, you do the division and then you round to the least number of significant digits. The only way you're going to get good at this is if you practice, do your homework, etc., etc. All right, what's the rule for addition and subtraction? For that rule, it's all about the number of decimal places, not the number of sig figs, the number of decimal places. So for addition and subtraction, your final answer has to have the same number of decimal places as the measured number with the least decimal places. Let me show you what I mean by that. So if you've got this, for example, 111.25 centimeters and 1.3 centimeters, okay? And you want to add them together, okay? Yes, this has 5 sig figs. Yes, this has 2 sig figs, but we don't care about the measured numbers sig figs when we're doing an addition and subtraction. We care about the decimal places. Can you see that this one has the least number of decimal places? It only has 1 decimal place. All right, so we're going to do the addition. So put a 5, 2 and 3 is 5, 1 and 1, 2, 1 and 1. Okay. So you can't report this. The rules for addition and subtraction says that the final answer has to have the same number of decimal places as the number with the least number of decimal places. So that means we've got to stop right here. This has the least, this is the same. Okay, so we got to stop it here. All right, so this is a 5. So remember, 5 or higher, you round up. So the final answer is going to be 112.6 centimeters. This would be the correct final answer, not this. Notice that this is only 2 sig figs, but with addition and subtraction, we don't care about the number of sig figs. We just care about the decimal places, and that would be the correct answer. All right, so those are the 2 key things I needed you guys to know for the rules of multiplication, division, and then you have to apply the rules of rounding. The only way to get good at this is to just do a lot of practice, okay? The next video, we'll start talking about scientific notation, and you'll see how all this ties in with that. Okay, good.